Say that again. Was there a question? Was that Warren? Were you asking a question?
No.
Okay.
No, I wasn't asking a question.
Okay, so there's atoms everywhere, even in the air. You can't see them, but as you are walking through the air, there's a lot of atoms that are bouncing against you. Billions and trillions and quadruple trillions. Now, is everybody familiar with Legos? You know what Legos are? Okay, have you ever played with Legos? All right.
No.
Well, think of Legos as, if you're just a pile of Legos, it really doesn't look like anything. But you could put Legos together, couldn't you? And if you put them together in a certain form, you could actually make things if they're organized in a certain way, like I made a little car here out of Legos. Or I could make a whole city out of Legos. I can even make people out of Legos. It's not exactly perfect, but you put those Legos together and you can make different things. The same thing is true of atoms. You can take atoms, they're kind of like Legos, but when you put atoms together, oh, it's actually much better. For instance, there is a car made of atoms. There's a whole city, and everything in that city is made of atoms. Even the sky and the clouds, everything is made of atoms. Even people are made of atoms. Even airplanes are made of atoms. Here I'm showing a picture of a Boeing 737. This airplane weighs 175,000 pounds, but it's all made of atoms, and it is in the air, which is also atoms, which are pushing everywhere on that airplane. Atoms push in every direction with a force of 14.7 pounds for every square inch. So every inch on that airplane, there's almost 15 pounds, 14.7, almost 15 pounds, pushing on the airplane in all directions, up, down, everywhere. How about if we are walking along let's say walking along the street, we don't realize it, but there are atoms pushing against us in every direction. But what happens if I could take the atoms away, the atoms that are pushing me down? What if I took those atoms away, but I only left the atoms that are pushing me up? What would happen? Well, let's see. I took away all of the atoms that are pushing me down, and now the only atoms I have left are the atoms pushing me up. What's going to happen? Well, I'm going to go up. All right, I'm going to show you an example. If let's see, let's see. I think we're going to stop the share here. All right. Can you see me now? Am I a bigger picture now on your screen? Can everyone see me?
Yes.
Okay, you can see me. Okay. All right, I have a piece of paper here. Right here. Now, as I hold this piece of paper, there are atoms pushing on the top of this paper, which is trying to make it droop down. There's also atoms that are pushing up. So there are atoms in both directions. But what happens if I blow some of these atoms that are on the top? What if I blow them away? Okay, I'm going to do that. And you can do this too. If you take a piece of paper and you blow like this, you can see the paper lifts up. Why is it lifting up? It's lifting up because the atoms on the bottom are still there. I got rid of the atoms on the top, but the atoms on the bottom push it up. I'm going to show you another example. I'm going to show you a ball that I'm going to make fly. All right. I have a blower here. Over here. All right. I have a blower. And I'm going to have air coming out of this blower. And I'm going to put this ball on top of the blower, and the atoms that are coming out of that blower will hold the ball up. But I still have a lot of atoms that are pushing down. I have more atoms pushing up, so the ball's going to float a little bit, but I still have a lot of atoms here. But if I take this blower and I go around here, like so, I will then get rid of the atoms that are pushing down, and the ball will actually float up much higher. So I'm going to show that to you. I got this floating in the air. Now I'm going to see if I can get rid of the atoms on top. Getting rid of the atoms on the top is all flying like an airplane. My blower is over here. The ball is over here. I'm getting rid of the atoms on the top. All flying like an airplane. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing with this tube of ping pong balls. I have atoms that are pushing on the top of these ping pong balls, but I also have atoms pushing on the bottom. So it's equal. But if I get rid of the atoms up here, then the atoms inside this tube will push those ping pong balls right out of that tube. I'm going to show that to you. Here we go. I'm just going to blow over the top. Okay, so that's how an airplane flies. We get rid of the atoms that are on the top. Now, let me go back to my little screen share here. Okay, here is a wing, a side view of a wing. Let's say that you are, now let's see, let me stop the share for a second. Say we're looking at an airplane here, and let's look at the wing from this side, okay? So we're going to look at it as if you're looking right from that side on the wing, all right? Okay, can everybody see this little wing right here? And here we have all these atoms that are moving in the air. They're all in the air. You can't see them, but they are in the air. And as these atoms move toward the wing, or if I was moving the wing through the air, as the atoms hit right here, right in this area, they have to go one direction or the other. So some of them go up and some of them actually stay pushing on the bottom. So these atoms on the bottom are pushing up, but these atoms on the top, they can't push down anymore. They're being forced up. That means I got more atoms pushing up than I do pushing down, and this airplane's gonna fly. That's how it flies. This is a view what they call a wind tunnel. They take some smoke and they take a photograph of a wing. This is the wing, you're looking at the edge, and they blow smoke over the wing just to see what would happen. And sure enough, you can see that the smoke goes up, but it can't come down and push down on the wing anymore. But this part of the smoke is pushing up on the wing. So this wing is gonna fly. It's got more atoms or more smoke pushing on the bottom and less on the top. Okay, so now that we know how an airplane flies, this is how we control an airplane. Pilots in the cockpit right here, they can move their steering wheel, and if they move these little flaps on the back, these flaps will let the atoms will hit those flaps, and it can either push the aircraft tail down or push it up. Depends on which way you put the flaps. If I want to put the flaps up, then the atoms are going to hit that and it's going to put the tail down. So this is called pitch. When the airplane is going nose up or nose down, that is called pitch. This is called roll. So the pilots can control, they got little flaps on the outside of the wing here, and when the flap comes up on this wing, the atoms hit it and push it down, and when the flaps go down on this wing, it makes that wing come up. So we can roll the aircraft. So that is called roll. And then this is called yaw. The pilot moves with his feet. He has pedals on his feet or at his feet, and he moves this control up here, and that makes the airplane turn left or right. That's called yaw. Okay, now you know how an airplane flies. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the aviation industry. There's many categories you could divide this aviation into, but today I'm just going to divide it into a few categories. We're going to talk about general aviation, military aviation, helicopters, private business airplanes, which are mostly small jets, and then the airlines, which are really divided into what we call regional airlines, which are kind of medium-sized airplanes, and then there's major airlines, which are large airplanes. Okay, this is general aviation. This is what we call a small airplane. This happens to be a Cessna 172, but there's hundreds of thousands of these airplanes in the world. An airplane like this costs anywhere from $80,000 to $300,000, and it carries 3 passengers and a pilot. And some of them carry 6 passengers, but they're all pretty small airplanes. That's called general aviation. There's another picture of a Cessna 172. Then we have business aviation, and these are generally small jet airplanes. They fly around generally wealthy people that want to have their own private jet to fly around in. And they go a lot faster than the general aviation airplanes, but they're still small in comparison to the airlines. Here's the inside of a Cessna Citation business jet. It's very comfortable, and if you want to go, let's say, from here to Chicago or something, you will fly very comfortably. You got a little table here, a little TV to watch, and you'll just get to where you want to go a lot faster than if you were to drive a car. Here's the Learjet. This is even a faster airplane than the Cessna Citation. And here's the inside of that. Still very nice, very comfortable airplane, and it's made for 8 to 10 people. Then we have military airplanes. Here is an SR-71. This is the fastest airplane in the world that is what we call air-breathing airplane. Rockets are a different category. So this is an air-breathing aircraft. It is the fastest in the world. It flies 2,193 miles an hour. Mach 3.3. Mach means the speed of sound. So it's going more than 3 times the speed of sound. So if I were to speak to you, by the time the words leave my lips to get to your ears, that airplane would fly 3 times that speed. But this is the fastest rocket. Well, it's the fastest rocket that doesn't go into space, 4,120 miles an hour. The rockets that go into space, they go about 20 to 25,000 miles an hour. Okay, here's the regional airlines. This is an aircraft. It's much bigger than the business type aircraft. And it's for the smaller airlines, or what we call the regional airlines. This is the inside of the regional airline. Seats about 78 people. And you can buy tickets and you can fly in these anytime you want. You just pay the ticket and they'll take you a relatively short distance, maybe from here to Las Vegas, or from here to, it could go to Chicago, but that would not much longer than that. These types of airplanes would not take you to Europe or to any place real far away. For that, you need bigger airplanes. This is the commercial airlines. This happens to be a Boeing 757. I used to fly this. I used to be a pilot on this type of airplane. These airplanes cost about $80 million. They seat about 239 people. And they carry about 11,000 gallons, 11,489 gallons of fuel. Here's an MD-80. I used to fly these also. They cost about $45 million. They carry about 172 passengers. Here's a 767. I also flew that. Those airplanes cost about $217 million. And they'll carry about 351 passengers. Here's the latest, well, one of the latest airplanes, Boeing 777, we call it 777. They carry about 350 passengers. This is the inside of the 777. They can fly anywhere in the world. They can without stopping or having to get fuel. And then there's helicopters, and helicopters are used for all different purposes. Police use them a lot. People who are trying to get to oil rigs out in the ocean. There's a lot of use for helicopters. Okay, so there are many wonderful jobs in these various aviation categories. In fact, there's so many different jobs, it would take us months to talk about all the different jobs. There's ticket agents, there's baggage handlers. I could go on and on. But today I'm only going to talk about 3 types of jobs. That doesn't mean these are the only jobs in aviation, but these are 3 jobs that, you might be interested in one of these types of jobs. And that is flight attendants, aircraft mechanics, and pilots. So let's talk about flight attendants. A flight attendant, they're also known as a steward or stewardess. If it's a man, it's a steward. If it's a woman, it's a stewardess. Sometimes they're called air host or air hostess. but they are a member of the air crew. They are part of the pilots and the flight attendants. They work together to make sure that the passengers are safe and comfortable, and that they're happy, and they're fed, that sort of thing. Now, to become a flight attendant, it's not necessary to attend college. You can become a flight attendant as soon as you're 21 years old, and all you'd have to have would be a high school education. But once you would get hired, you go through lots of training that the company will give you. The company that employs you will train you to do what you have to do. Typically, airline flight attendants, they serve passengers, they make them comfortable. They're also highly trained to evacuate passengers in case of an emergency. If an airplane were to crash, and it doesn't happen very often, but the flight attendants know what to do in order to get the passengers out of the aircraft safely. Then there's aircraft mechanics. I am an aircraft mechanic. I'm also a pilot, but aircraft mechanics, they're also referred to as AMTs, aircraft maintenance technicians, but they're responsible for performing repairs and preventative and routine maintenance on all types of aircraft. They have to repair the airplanes to make sure the airplanes operate correctly. If not, if the pilot finds that there's something wrong with the airplane, he'll call the mechanic, and a mechanic will come in and fix the airplane. The FAA, it stands for Federal Aviation Agency or Administration. They are a government organization that controls everything in aviation in the United States. So if you're a mechanic, the FAA is going to make sure that you're a good mechanic. If you're a pilot, the FAA is going to make sure you're a good pilot. If you're a flight attendant, the FAA is going to make sure you're a good flight attendant. As far as mechanics are concerned, they're also called airframe and power plant mechanics, and they are, or A&P for airframe and power plant, they are in high demand. Anybody that is a trained A&P mechanic will be able to get a job in very, very easily. They're needed very much in aviation. Airline mechanics, they're highly trained to keep the airplanes mechanically safe. Now, in order for a mechanic to perform work on the airplanes, it's preferable that he possess a special FAA license. It's not absolutely necessary in every case, but most places will prefer that you have a license. This license is referred to as an A&P license. It stands for airframe and power plant. That means if you have an A&P license, it means that you have been trained to safely repair airplanes. You can get this license in a couple of ways. You could go to a special school for 18 months, and you could do that right after you graduate from high school. You can go to an A&P school, and you can get your license in 18 months. Or you could join the military, and the military would train you if that's what you want to do. But it takes 3 years to do it that way. Going to the school is faster. You could do it in 18 months. Or you can work as a non-licensed mechanic for a commercial company. You got to work there for 3 years or more, and then you have to pass a special test. And if you do that, you could get your license that way as well. Pilots, that's also a rewarding career. They're all rewarding, really. This job is well suited for men and women. There's plenty of men and women that are pilots in the world, that's for sure. This is the cockpit of a small airplane. This is what a pilot would see if he's flying a little airplane, or he or she is flying a little airplane. This is a little more complicated. I'm going to go back to you can see that for a little airplane, the cockpit is kind of simple. It does have these various gauges. This is your airspeed indicator. It tells you how fast you're going. This airplane, this indicator tells you whether your wings are level, if you're turning left or right, or if you're pitching up or down. This tells you how high you are. This is an altimeter. And these instruments here tell you where you want to go. If you want to go, east, it'll point you in the right direction. This indicator here tells you what direction you're flying. So this tells you what direction you're flying. This one tells you where you want to fly. This one here is called a turn and bank indicator. Tells you if you're in a turn or not. In any event, it's relatively simple. You can learn how to fly one of these airplanes in about 40 hours. Now, this is a little more complicated airplane. This would be like a Cessna Citation or a Learjet type. It's got more instruments, and you have to get a little more training for something like this. This is a regional jet. This is an Embraer cockpit. This is your small airline cockpit, and you can see it's getting to be more complicated as we go up in size. The more people you can carry, the more complicated it's going to be in a cockpit. This is a 777 cockpit. This is a large Boeing 777, and it takes. You need to have about 5,000 hours of flying in order to be very competent at flying one of these. Pilots navigate and fly the airplanes in order to carry passengers all over the world. And pilots are needed to fly all types of airplanes, including general aviation airplanes, business airplanes, military airplanes, regional airlines, large commercial airlines, and helicopters. They all have to have pilots. This is the cockpit of a Boeing 757. This is the airplane I used to fly. And you have to know all these buttons. You have to remember them, what they do. But it's once you learn it, it's not a difficult job at all. It's kind of a fun job. And then there's helicopters. There's all kinds of helicopters. This one here is for the Los Angeles Police Department. A lot of times you could have a dual career. You could be a policeman and a pilot and fly a police helicopter looking for bad people, bank robbers, whatever. And these helicopters are very valuable for that. But helicopters are also used for many other purposes too. Oftentimes you need to carry some people from, let's say, from the land out to a boat out in the ocean, and only a helicopter could land on a boat. And you can take people to and from a boat and bring them to land. All right, this is a chart showing pay. Pay is not the most important thing when you try to choose a job that you want to do, but it's something to consider. Certainly, you should do something that you want to do in your life. If you want to be a doctor, or you want to be a dancer, or you want to be a pilot or a mechanic or a flight attendant, you should do what you want to do, but just so you know what the pay is for these various professions. So the average income in the United States is $50,000 a year. And if you're making $50,000 a year, you'll live pretty nice. People, at that income, you can own a house and car, and you can have a nice family, you can have children, and you can be very comfortable. Now, flight attendants for major airlines make about that much money. This is a flight attendant here. So they make about the average pay. And so they have, in addition to the benefit of making $50,000 a year, they get to fly anywhere in the world anytime, even on their days off. If they want to go to London or Paris, they can hop on an airplane and go for free. Because if you work for the airlines, That's one of the benefits that you get is to fly anywhere in the world. So if you like to travel, flight attendants is pretty easy way to get that. You don't have to have college, and you can get hired fairly quickly. Now, a major airline mechanic, they make pretty good money. They make $75,000 and sometimes more. If they work overtime, it's not unusual for them to make over $100,000. That's pretty good money. You can have a pretty nice house and a pretty nice car if you're an airline mechanic. And it's also easy to get hired, but you do have to spend some time to become a mechanic. You have to go to school for 18 months, as I mentioned, or you have to go into the military, or you have to work for somebody for 3 years. But once you become a mechanic, you're making pretty good money. A corporate pilot, a co-pilot. Now, there are usually two pilots in a cockpit. There's the captain, who is the boss. And there's the co-pilot who can also fly the aircraft. And he's there in case the captain should have a heart attack or become incapacitated for some reason. So they always like to have two pilots. They also, a corporate co-pilot makes a pretty nice wage. A guy that's flying like the Learjet I showed you, he's flying rich people. A lot of times they're flying entertainers, singers and dancers. They have their own private airplanes, or business people. So they get paid pretty good. A corporate captain now, pilot captain, he's up there, he's up around 100, close to 100,000, and sometimes he goes as high as $150,000 a year. So corporate pilots have a pretty good wage, and it's pretty comfortable job. Now, regional co-pilot will make about the same as a corporate captain, and he's going to make 180 to 100. He'll make 80 to 150,000 in that area. Now, a regional captain, he's going to make well over 100,000. He's going to make 150 to anywhere from 150 to $170,000. Now, a major airline co-pilot is going to make at least $150,000, and that's a very good wage. And then the airline captains make about $250,000 a year. Now, it takes, in order to become either an airline co-pilot or an airline pilot, you'll have to have a college degree. So you do need to go to school. You need to go to college after you graduate from high school. You need to get at least a 4-year degree. And you need to get experience, generally get experience as a corporate pilot or a corporate co-pilot or a corporate captain or a regional co-pilot, regional captain. You get a little experience working for these kinds of jobs because these jobs are easier to get, and you'll get paid a little lower. But once you get some experience, you can then apply for a job with a major airline. And if you have about 3,000 hours of flight time, that you will get hired by the airline. And then you can make this kind of money up here, about 250,000. So you got any questions about the industry? I don't hear anybody. So I have done, throughout my career, I have spent a fair amount of time doing being the airline mechanic and the major airline co-pilot and captain. I didn't spend any time doing the corporate work, but that's unusual. Most people have to spend a little time doing that. All right, well, that's what I have for you, folks. If there are no questions, I'm done with the presentation, and it was nice to meet all of you. I'm not hearing anybody. Is anybody talking?
You did a great job.
Oh, thank you. That was Maria. Thank you, Maria. All right. Then I'll sign
Thank
off.
you.
Okay, you're
You know
welcome.
what? I have some questions. I just don't know if the whole class wants to say, but like I know that you were saying that in the beginning, you know, that sometimes you could do like a regular plane for like 40 hours.
Yes.
What's the age? I know, you know, to drive a car, you have to be a certain age or whatnot. What's the age? As if somebody wanted to do it as my son, he has a condition, and so he cannot pursue it, though this is something he wanted to pursue prior. But what would be the age that he can just go out and do his 40 hours?
Well, that is an excellent question. And the answer is you only have to be 16 years old
To fly?
to fly. In a little airplane, you can start taking lessons at 16, and by the time you're 17, you can actually get your license. You take lessons at 16 and get your license at 17. And like I say, it's only 40 hours, and only 20 of those hours are with an instructor. The other 20, you have to spend what we call solo. You're flying by yourself. You're not allowed to carry passengers. But once you get the 20 hours of training and then the 20 hours of solo, you then take a test. And if you pass that test, you can then fly passengers. You can fly anybody you want. However, you cannot accept pay.
Oh, okay.
Pay you. You can only fly your friends, your family, or anybody that wants to fly, but they cannot pay you because you're not considered a professional yet. You then would once you learn how to become what we call a private pilot, then you can take another 40 hours of training and become a commercial pilot. Then you can accept pay. And you could do such things. You still can't be an airline pilot, but you could accept pay. You could be an instructor, or you could be an aerial photographer, or you could fight forest fires. There's many things you can do as a commercial pilot. And then as you progress up into the jet area and you become qualified to fly, let's say, a regional jet or a corporate jet, that's generally about 2 weeks of training it's about 3 weeks, about 3 weeks of training for each jet aircraft that you learn. So if you're going to learn how to fly a Learjet, you're going to spend an extra 3 weeks of training for the Learjet. And then you'll be able to, you get what's called the type rating, and you can fly passengers and be paid because you're already a commercial pilot. And then when you get to the airlines and you go to, and you learn, let's say in the case you want to fly a Boeing 757, the airlines are going to send you to school for 1 month. And you're going to learn that specific airplane. And you may fly that airplane for, let's say, a couple of years, and then you may decide you want to fly a different types of airplane. Maybe you want to fly maybe a guy flying a Boeing 757 wants to fly a Boeing 777. He goes to school for another month. So pilots get paid, the airline pilots get paid by the weight and the speed of the aircraft. So the heavier the airplane and the faster the airplane, the more money they make. So I told you an average airline pilot's going to make $250,000. That's to fly an average airplane. But if he's flying a big airplane like a Boeing 747, he's making about $325,000 a year. But you would be surprised. Now, I've talked to a lot of people that think you can't fly if you wear glasses. That's not true. If you wear glasses, you can fly. That's an old rule that is no longer applies. So if you need glasses, you can still be a pilot. It makes no difference at all.
How about body condition?
You will have to take a physical for an airline pilot, he has to take a physical every 6 months. But for a general aviation pilot, he only has to take a physical every 3 years. And what they look at is your heart mainly. You have to take what they call an EKG, and they make sure that you're not about ready to have a heart attack. So they check your heart, and they check your blood pressure, and they check your vision. And as long as you can see okay with glasses on, that's all that's required. So if your heart's okay, your blood's okay, blood pressure's okay, and your eyes are good enough with glasses, then you get signed off and you're good to fly. You can have, now I have a very good friend that's an airline pilot, and he's missing 2 fingers on one hand. So even if you have a deformity with, your hand, you could probably have some fingers missing, or you may walk with let's say a little bit of a limp. That would be okay, but you do have to be able to walk. You have to be able to get out of the aircraft good enough.
What suggestions do you have for our students if they want to set goal to become a commercial pilot or mechanics?
Okay, all right. So all right, I'll start out with mechanic. I would suggest that either they go into the military, or if they don't want to do military, I would go to a school. There's many of them, and as a matter of fact, your school, I would suggest Orion will be having a mechanic school very soon. So by the time many of your students graduate, we'll have that school going. But if they don't go to that school, there's many of them all over the country. There's a school in Victorville that is not far from here, and you could attend that school. You go for 18 months, and then you will get your mechanic's license, your A&P license. And once you have that, you'll get a job anywhere. You can go to American Airlines or Delta. They need mechanics so bad right now. So you'd have a job very easy. So just spend the 18 months and go to the school after high school. For pilot, if you're planning to become an airline pilot, then I highly recommend you go to college right away. It does not matter what subject you take. You can be a major in history if you like history, or you can be a major in English or Chinese. Whatever subject you want to specialize in, the airlines don't care. They just want you to have a college education because you have proven to them that you do your homework and that you are responsible. That's all they care. So all you really need besides a college education, you can go to an airport, almost any airport. You can go to Orange County Airport, or there's a little airport in San Bernardino, and there are flight schools. And you sign up for flight school, and you start out by saying, I want to get my private pilot license. I want 20 hours of instruction and 20 hours of solo. And that's going to cost you, the cost is about, it's going to cost about $4,000 to $5,000 to get your private pilot license. And then if you like it and you fly around for, 100 or 200 hours, costs you about $100 an hour to fly. But you need to get some experience, and then you get a commercial license and become a teacher. And then you can continue flying, but you're getting paid. You don't get paid a lot, but you still get paid. And you need to build time. You need to get about 1,500 hours as a commercial pilot. And then you would be qualified to go to work for a corporate company, and they'll train you. They'll give you the training on the Learjet or the Cessna Citation, one of those types of airplanes, the company will pay you for that. So you need just the initial 40 hours initially, and then probably another 300 hours after that to get your commercial. And from then on, then you start getting paid. And it's all a matter of flight time experience. By the time you get to the airlines, the big airlines, they're going to want you to have about 3,000 hours at minimum, 3,000 to 5,000 hours. Okay?
Now you said a degree,
Yes.
degree in associates, a bachelor's, master's, PhD. I know it's in any area, but I'm guessing a bachelor's, but I'm not.
Yeah, a bachelor's degree is pretty much the minimum that the airlines require. Now, it is not required to have a college education for flying the corporate airplanes. If you're flying like a Citation Cessna Citation I showed you, or a Learjet, and you're flying around rich people, they're going to pay you. They're going to pay you $120,000 a year, and you do not need college for that kind of an airplane. You only need college for the big airlines like American or Delta Airlines. Everybody, no other pilot requires college.
Okay, I'm going to change the subject just a little, but it's going to be based on your experience. When I think of a pilot, of course, I get probably, heights. I'm kind of more scared of heights or whatnot. Some people. But what I am curious about is you seem like you have experience. Can you tell me what fascinates you, one, to be in the air, and two, your scariest moment in the air?
Okay.
Just hypothetical, we want to know the pros and the cons.
Okay. Well, what made me really want to learn flying was when I was a little boy and I saw birds in the sky. I was just curious, how did it happen? So I started studying flight. And when I got out of high school, I decided to be a mechanic. I did not aspire to be a pilot initially. And I went to the school for 18 months and I became an airline mechanic. And I worked that way for about 7 years. I was a mechanic. And I did work my way up to become a supervisor and a manager for mechanics. But I became friends with some pilots. One pilot in particular came to me because I was a mechanic. And he said, "Well, you're a mechanic on airplanes. Do you know how to fix cars?" And I said, "Well, yeah, cars and airplanes are very similar." He says, "Well, my car's broken. I can't figure it out. Would you fix it for me?" So I took a look at his car and I fixed it pretty easy. And I became his friend. Oh, wow, he thought that was just marvelous that I could fix his car so easy. So one day, maybe a year later, he came to me and said, "I just got promoted to be chief pilot of this airline. And if you want to be a pilot, I'll get you in." I said, "I think that sounds like fun." So I went and I got my 40 hours of training. I did have to pay for that. And I did it at the same time. I was a mechanic. And I just kind of worked my way up, just got flight experience. And he told me, "If you get 2,000 hours of flight time, I will hire you." Well, I found it was taking too long. I had about 300 hours. And I went to him, I said, "Boy, it's going to take me a long time to get 2,000. I got 300. He says, "Oh, that's good enough. Come on, I'll hire you." So that's how I got hired.
You got lucky. That's a gray area.
I was very lucky. But it's like any job, it's who you know. That always helps.
I was going to say, who you know. So connection is more important than your actual skill, right?
Yes.
Like 1970 hours more important.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Generally, if you have 3,000 hours, and most people get that through the military, if you have 3,000, you don't even need a friend. You'll get hired. Even if somebody said, anybody with 3,000 hours walks in the door, they're hired. But to get in with less than 3,000, yeah, you got to know somebody.
Mm.
Scary moments. First of all, I will tell you that I was very much afraid of heights, and as a kid, and you could never get me on a roller coaster at the at the amusement park, and I was very afraid to get in an airplane. I was curious how airplanes flew, but I just forced myself to get on an airplane, and when I did, I found out, well, this is not scary at all. I mean, everything I was afraid of was unnecessary, because being in an airplane is like being in a car. It's not, you don't feel that, like your stomach is rising. It's nothing. And I was just saying, well, I was afraid over nothing. So so I started flying, and sure enough, I've got 25,000 hours, been flying for about 35 years. I've had one or two scary moments. A pilot once told me that being a pilot can be defined as 30,000 hours of boredom and about 12 seconds of terror. and so
I can see that.
I suppose I had my time. I guess it's 2 times. The first time I was brand new. I had only flown I only had about 60 or 70 hours, and I was working very hard because I knew I had my pilot friend that would hire me, so I had to get some flight time quickly. So I came in for a landing in Orange County Airport, which is not far from here. And I was soloing. I had been all by myself, but I had been taught how to land. The instructor taught me very well how to land. And it's not difficult, but I did it wrong. I didn't do it the way the instructor taught me. And I landed, and the airplane bounced, and it landed, and then it went back up in the air again. And then it came back down again and hit again, and then bounced up again. So I bounced about 4 or 5 times down the runway. I would bounce, and then I'd go back up about 20 feet, and then I would come back down.
That's scary.
And I finally got the airplane to a halt. It didn't hurt me. I mean, it didn't hurt the airplane. It was just scary. So I taxied the airplane to a little coffee shop that was on the airport. I got out of the airplane, and I went and I got a cup of coffee, and I said to myself, I don't think I want to be a pilot anymore. I'm going to call somebody and have them fly this airplane back to where it belongs, and I quit. I'm just going to be a mechanic. So I thought about it, and I paced back and forth, and I finally said, nope, I'm going to get back in that airplane, and I'm going to fly it again.
Good job.
So I got back in the airplane, and I flew to Long Beach, and I made a normal landing. And I got out of the airplane, and my eyelids hurt. And I said, why did my eyelids hurt? And I realized that when I made that landing in Long Beach, even though it was a good landing, my eyes were wide open. I think I must have been like that. But I made a good landing, and I proved to myself that I could still fly an airplane and that I wasn't going to crash. So that I didn't have any scary moments after that until I started flying for the airlines, and I probably had 10,000 hours, and everything was very, very almost boring. And I had to make an emergency landing because we had a passenger that was sick. And that wasn't scary. Making an emergency landing is not scary. But I went to an airport that I should not have gone to. I was trying to get the passenger down on the ground quickly because this person was having a heart attack, and we needed to get her to a hospital. So I went to an airport that the weather was terrible. It was absolute. There was lightning and thunder and hail, and there was everything wrong. And normally you wouldn't go to that airport. You'd say, well, I'm not going there today. But I tried landing at that airport, and fortunately, the co-pilot was flying the airplane. And the co-pilot was a woman, and she was a very good pilot. And she actually made the landing. The wind was 60 miles an hour, and it was changing. And she did a miraculous job of flying. And I told her after we landed, I said, that was the best piloting I've ever seen. And I really thank you for doing a good job. I'm not sure I could have done that good of a job. But those are the two scary times, and everything else has been just a joy. It's just been very pleasant. Any other questions?
I did send you private chat, so if you could respond, and then I just don't want to keep up everyone else's time. And I see Mrs. R's hand up too.
Okay, what does private chat mean? What is that? You said you sent me private chat?
Yeah, if you click to the bottom, you see at the bottom it says participants, chat, share screen, record.
It to me, Monsieur.
All right,
Oh, did I send it to you? No, I
Yeah.
sent it to him.
No, send it to me because
Dan?
I haven't received it.
Is it Dan?
Chat?
Scan?
Is that what it is, chat?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I hit that, we'll be chatting, okay?
Yeah, did you see anything pop up?
Oh, yes, I see Maria.
There you go.
Okay.
Yep, so you don't have to worry about it now. Talk to everybody else, but this is just separate that I don't want to take up everybody's time for, but there's a question. So you can do that first. I'm sorry, thank you.
Okay, so what do I do now? Do I just hit file?
No, you'll say, Mrs. R, what did you want? And then she'll ask the question.
Okay, Mrs. R?
Yes, I had a quick question. Is it true that in this field there is a lot of gender inequality?
No.
Like, are there many more male pilots than female pilots, or what is your experience? And is it changing?
Okay, that is a very good question. The answer is yes, there are more male pilots than female, but that is not because of any gender bias. It's just that it seems that there's fewer women that apply for it. I think that there's a lot of women that don't think they can be pilots. And if we accomplish anything today, I want to encourage all girls to know that yes, you can become a pilot just as easy as a man can. You just have to know that. And so, but there's a lot of ladies, I think, that don't know that. My experience with flying with women is that they seem to have, as a group, and I don't like the stereotype, but I think as a group, women tend to know the regulations and know the rules a lot better than men. Men tend to be a little casual on that end. As far as being able to fly, you'd never know the difference. You wouldn't know if it was a man or a woman flying. But women seem to be able to understand regulations better. I don't know why that is, but that's been my experience. But they're all good. They're all good.
Thank you.
I do want to mention one thing about scary. Because I just remembered a question I was asked by a student in a previous session. And a student asked, have you ever been scared in an airplane? A very similar question as to what Mrs. Ye asked. What I told the class that time was, yeah, there are a few times when I've been scared as an airline pilot. The way I overcome fear is I pretend that I'm not afraid. If I'm in front of anybody else, if I'm in front of the passengers, I pretend I'm not afraid. As an example, if we have a lot of turbulence and the airplane's rocking back and forth and it's a little scary, I will pick up the microphone and I will say to the passengers, well, ladies and gentlemen, we're having a little bit of turbulence here, but it's nothing. It's nothing to be afraid of. We'll be out of it in 10 minutes. And so just sit back and relax. Now, I don't know if I helped the passengers. But
You
I
sure
helped
do.
Me.
Keep that up. We appreciate that. You
I-
keep that up.
I helped me by doing.
You know what? Next time, I'm not going to trust the pilot.
Now we're gonna be
Yeah.
scared when I'm in going to, yeah, it helps me.
I'm
Oh,
not
but
going to believe him.
The same thing is true of all boys. Listen to me, boys. If you ever get a bully that tries to bully you, you look them right in the face and say, go ahead and try me. You act like you're not afraid. and
good
he will-
advice.
He will run away. Never show anybody that you are afraid. And you know what? If you are not afraid, or if you act like you're not afraid, you won't be afraid.
All right, so peeking back to the gender inequality, female pilot, we don't see a lot of female pilot. I think it's because we don't know the field well enough. How can a female pilot balance their job and family life?
That is a very good question. For being an airline pilot, it's difficult because you travel a lot. You're all around the world. If you have children, you're going to leave your children for 3 and 4 days at a time. Now, airline pilots get a lot of time off because we only, we'll be gone for 3 days, but then we're off for 4 days. So you're going to work 3 days a week, generally. So if you have the right balance with, let's say you have, if you have children, if you have a husband, or if you have parents, or if you have a babysitter, you have to make arrangements for somebody to watch your children while you're away. But many people do it, and many people are very good parents. Many female pilots are very good parents, and but they do have to have somebody watch the kids. Now, as far as a girl making a decision when she's in high school and she says to herself, "I want to become a pilot or a mechanic," the steps are exactly the same as they are for a boy. What you would do if you want to be a pilot, you're going to go to Orion School here in a few in a few months. You're going to have the school, but if not, you go to a place like San Bernardino. They have a school right there at the airport, and you sign up. It's just a matter of you paying for it. It's not terribly expensive. It's going to be, like I say, about $4,000 to get your private license, but that's your start. But it doesn't matter whether you're a boy or a girl. If you got $4,000, or if your parents have $4,000, you can do it. And then once you pay that $4,000, and then probably another $4,000 or $5,000 to get a little experience. After that, you then start getting paid. You don't have to pay for it. You become an instructor, or an aerial photographer. You're building flight experience, but people are paying you to fly. So that's they don't pay you much, but that you don't care. You just want enough to pay for the airplane. Okay.
Hey, Dan, I have one question. I just want your opinion on the whole 737 AOA, mishap. With Muhlenberg resigning and Trump saying he's the best guy, number one guy, and then he got sacked. He got sacked and replaced. So I just want to hear your opinion on that, and whether you would feel confident to fly in one again if they were to be back in service.
Okay, so you're talking about the 737 MAX? Is that what you said? I missed that.
Right, with the whole AOA sensor mishap.
The whole, I'm missing you. You're saying the AOA?
AOA, yes. Yeah.
You're talking about aircraft operating agreements, or what?
No.
AOA. Okay, I know.
Angle of attack sensor.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. All right. I don't think you need it. An AOA sensor. This is angle of attack. What they're talking about is an instrument that people think should be in a, hold on, sorry about that. This is an instrument, an AOA instrument, angle of attack indicator, that is not typically in airplanes. It's in most military airplanes. And what that does is it shows how much nose up you have as opposed to your direction of flight, or how much nose down you have. I've used them in the past, but not very much. They're not in most airliners. They're certainly not in the airplanes that I have flown. I've flown the MD-80, the DC-9, the 737, the 757, 767. None of them had an AOA indicator. So I don't see any benefit to it at all. Yeah, I think it is overblown. It's true that a pilot, a very inexperienced pilot, could get into a cloud, as an example, and he can't see out the window because he's in the cloud. If he is a good pilot, it's no big deal. It's just nothing. But if he gets confused, he may not know if his nose is up or down, and he could do what they call a stall, and it could cause an aircraft accident. It's only going to happen to a very inexperienced pilot, and an inexperienced pilot shouldn't be flying in the clouds anyway. So yeah, my thing is it's not worth the money. That's my opinion. I don't think it'll save any lives. Let's see. Did I lose?
I mean, yeah. But thank you so much for your opinion, because it's actually sort of contrary to what I read, because I wasn't aware, like you said, in most commercial air jets you don't have this type of sensor. So it's just refreshing to get like another side of the story too.
The Cessna Citation had an AOA as an option. When you buy one, it's like buying a car.
Right.
A new car, you know, you want to have the extra special good speakers in your car, whatever.
Right.
Well, when you buy like a Cessna Citation, I work for the Citation factory. There were pilots that would say, yeah, I'd like to have an angle of attack indicator in my airplane. And generally they were former military pilots that use angle of attack all the time. Now, angle of attack would be very valuable if you're a fighter pilot and you're doing dog fights against another fighter, and you're going upside down and you're doing aerobatics. An angle of attack would be very valuable in that case. So I understand that. But for a normal flight, you carrying passengers, anything you would do in an airplane carrying passengers, I don't see a need for an AOA.
Thank you so much, Dan. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Thank you.
All right, this will conclude our presentation. Thank you, Mr. Scanlon, for all the information. And thank you, Dr. Wu, for bringing him on. This was pretty much done for all for our students, so we get to know that there are notes for them too, not only for the gentlemen, and especially Ryan, because Ryan says she wants to be a pilot. So I hope, Ryan, he answered all your questions. And if you have further questions, you can email him. Okay, Ryan?
Yeah. Please feel free to call me or email me if you want further information. I'd be happy to give you some pointers on where to go and how to start flying, or how to start being a mechanic or flight attendant. I can help you in those areas for sure.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Students, I hope you learned something from Mr. Scanner. Very informative. And always, as an Orion student, think, what do you want to do? What do you plan to do? It is important. Okay?
That's right. It's very important to pick something that is enjoyable. You bet. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, bye, students. Perfect timing.我决定花4000元让你去 get private license first。他说4000块钱 get private license 啊，4000块是去语言两个不同的东西。去先学，先 get a private license。5分几了。好了，你去写功课吧，或者是去拉小提琴，把小提琴拿到楼上去拉。你为什么把水放在我桌上？All right, Coco, work harder. Get 4,000 first. For Ryan to get private license first. 4,000. That's step 1. Work hard. Your microphone is mute.
She has that. She's ready. She has that.
So she has a private license already?
No, she has her $4,000.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right. So she just needs to pick a major, any major she likes. But then during her 4 years, she can enjoy her college life, and after college life, she can try that route.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
It sounds not difficult. Right?
No, yeah, no, because she's supposed to start. She's supposed to go up in a couple of weeks at Riverside and start the private training.
I see.
So.
But then she can contact. I'm going to email her Mr. Scanner's email. He's very
Okay.
and then listen, connections is more important, right? He has
Yes.
connection in the aviation field. So
Right.
at UA, before he was the training captain.
Oh, right. That's what I read.
Yes.
Nice.
All right.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dr. Wu.
Bye. Oh,